Hi, proof of review here, and today we're going to take a look at Dash, which is a well-known cryptocurrency and one of the innovators in the masternode space. But specifically today, we're going to have a look at this new Evonet or uh, Evonet, whichever way you want to call it. And basically, it's a new API that allows you to interact, not using your own node, but using the master nodes with dApps. So we're going to go through some of the initial functions today. Not everything is up and released at the moment, but we can start by looking at some of the initially released functions and have a little play with it. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's follow some of the tutorials we've got here. So first of all, we want to connect to Evonet. I'm going to be using Node.js to do this. So what I'm going to do is first start a project. I'm going to go in there, create a new project, and then I'm going to go and install Dash. Okay. So here we can see in the instructions that we require the npm package Dash. So what we're doing, we're just installing that now, and we're going to save that into our package.json. Take a little while to install. So as that happens, let's look at the code that we're going to insert first of all. So we're going to connect to the testnet, and then we're going to just make sure we can connect to it and output to the console connected. After that, what we're going to do is create and fund a wallet. So let's copy this code for now. And what we can do, we can go and install that. Create a new file. And then we'll go and edit that. And all we're going to do is put that code in and just check that we can connect to it first. So I'll save that file. And then once we've done installing this, which is still taking a little while, we'll go ahead and do that. Okay, so we've installed the package now and we've copied the first bit of code into a file. So let's run that file and see what happens. So we're just getting a couple of warnings there, nothing to worry about. The script will continue. We've connected and the script's ended. So we've done our first bit of connecting. Now let's go and actually create a wallet. So here we're using similar to connect to Dash onto the testnet, but here we're actually having a different connect function, which will not only wait for the SDK to be ready, but then create a new wallet and bring us back an address and the mnemonic. So let's go ahead and do that. And we'll just replace the current function that's there. And let's run it again. Okay, we need to pass in a null mnemonic when we're connecting, so it creates a new wallet. Excellent. So we've got our mnemonic there, which will represent our wallet. But what we can go and do is now replace that in the SDK so that we don't create any new wallets and we can use this one for the rest of the testing. Here we've got an unused address, so let's use that to go and fund using the Dash faucet. Put our Dash address in here. And we'll go and get some coins. Okay, so we've got 10 Dash there. Now what we can do is quickly look at that wallet and look at some of the transactions. So I've got another file here which I've used to get the wallet details. So what I'll do, I'll copy that code across. And what we're doing here is on the connected SDK, we're going to get that account and then we're going to output the details of that account, which will include some of the wallets and transactions that have happened. So I'll go ahead and run that code now. We won't create a new wallet this time. We're using the mnemonic that we've put here to connect to an existing wallet. Account, not wallet, sorry. So I'll expand this window as we're probably going to get quite a lot of debug information coming back about that account. Okay, so let's go back up to the top and we can probably see some transactions that are on that account. So I've output it to Dapp 5, so you're going to see lots of information here. But the important bit to me is looking at the transactions. So here we've got one transaction with a transaction ID. Let's go and check that on the testnet explorer. And we'll see that that's probably, well, should be the funding, the 10 dash there to from the data faucet that we just did. So as you can see, this is the transaction there giving me 10 dash. And what we're going to do now, we can see that the Dash faucet is actually asking for us to give some money back. So we'll use that address and we'll actually go and do a transaction and send the faucet some back. So it's very nice to do that. Okay, so I'll paste the address there and then I've got some code in this file which will actually create and send that transaction. So what we're doing, we're creating the transaction options here. Now we can either have, what I'll do first, I'll just put the address into the recipient. We can either have amount, which would be in dash, so we're sending 1 dash, or you can have Satoshi. It might be Satoshis or Satoshi, which would be the Satoshi value of what you want to send. But at the moment, we're just going to send 1 dash, create the transaction, and then output the transaction ID that comes back. Now that transaction ID is actually a promise rather than an actual ID. But what we'll do, we'll go and check the recipient address once we've done that. So back over, and then what we'll do, we will run that file again. Oh, I didn't press save. Let's say cancel that. Let me save that file. And then we'll run the same again, connect to the SDK with our wallet, and then hopefully we'll be complete the transaction and get that transaction ID promise back. at that stage it'll still be pending, but then what we can do is go and have a look on the Evonet Block Explorer and make sure that we've actually sent that over. Perhaps what I should have done was comment this out so we can just see what we want to. Next time I run, I will. So there's our transaction ID. So let's go and take the Dash Faucet address, check to make sure that we have actually sent that. So there you go. So we've sent our one dash from our address, which was our last unused address, back to the Dash Faucet. So there we've done a transaction as well. So we've connected to the SDK. We went and created a wallet first of all. Then we pulled that wallet back once we created it using the mnemonic, and then we, from an already existing wallet, sent a transaction back to the faucet. Okay, the next thing that's available in the API is registering an identity. Now, identities can either be for users or applications, and it's a case of registering this on the network so that you can interact with the account on that basis. So we'll go through and follow the tutorial that we've got here. Basically, we connect again to Dash on the testnet. We'll use our mnemonic from our existing account. We then go and use the platform part of the SDK to register a new user. And once that promise is resolved, asynchronously, we will output the identity there. So let's go and create a new file and add that in. Okay, so we've got now create identity. We'll go and edit that. Copy this first bit out and the second bit, and then we'll go and get our mnemonic. Make sure we do that from our existing account. Okay, so let's go ahead and create that user identity. There we go. So we've got our identity there. And the next thing that we can do is then use that identity, which is now registered on the network, to actually register a domain name against it. So we look at the next part of the tutorial. Very similar here, but we pass our identity in, and from that we can register our name. So let's use the same file as we used, but this time we'll go and copy the identity here. And then we'll choose our name. Okay. So let's run that same file again. Now, once that is created, it will take some time to propagate onto the master nodes because we're not running our own node here. We're actually using the live testnet. So once that's propagated, what we can actually do is go and check that identity is back. It is actually on the network. And I've got the retrieve name code here that I use for that. Okay, so we've created our identity there with our name, Dash Evonet test 1. So what we'll do now, we'll use some code to actually go and retrieve that name and make sure that it's created and on the network. For this, I'll use some of the examples that we've got here on the GitHub in the Dash.js. And this is actually the retrieve name. So we'll copy this code, which is similar to what we have before. And we'll actually just use the same file, but we'll comment out the register name. Now here, let me just move this platform creation up here and remove it from there, just in case we want to run that later. Again, we don't need the SDK already. Oh, we do need that, sorry. And then we'll go and put our name in and check that we can retrieve that back. That looks good. Let's run. Okay, so we're running create identity again. This time we're actually going to retrieve the name that we've created, sorry. Excellent. So we've got that back. We can see that we've created our name. That's ready. That's there on the testnet. So we'll be able to use that identity in any future application that we create. So just to briefly summarize, what have we done today? We've looked at the new Evonet API. We've created, funded a wallet. We've sent transactions. We've registered an identity, and then we've registered a name for that identity. Now, once some of the new functions become available on this platform, we'll start being able to use decentralized storage to upload any documents or data to be used in user or application state. And then following this, what we can actually try and do is make a simple DApp that's running on the testnet. Okay, don't forget to like and subscribe to Proof of Review. Thank you very much for joining us. Any questions, please put them in the comments. Cheers. Bye-bye.